Hello everyone, welcome to my video. Today we'll be exploring something that I have not seen anyone else look into as of yet. We'll be delving deep into my very own For Honor Iceberg, a medieval fantasy fighting game between the Knights, Vikings, Samurai, Wulin, and Outlanders. We'll be exploring every nook and cranny, and every obscure detail and strategy that I can think of. I have 2,206 hours on this game. Now, why did I tell you this? It's not necessarily a flex because none of you play this game, at least to my knowledge, and it also should indicate that I don't really go outside. And indeed, I don't, and I really hate myself for it. However, it should also tell you that I know a lot about this game, and as such, I'll be your tour guide into the world of For Honor. Now with that being said, let's get into it. In Tier 1 of the Iceberg, I'll be going over what I believe to be the most basic knowledge of every For Honor player, that being the alternative game modes. These alternate modes consist of the excellent story mode, where you play as each of the base factions, cutting through each other in order to defeat the evil warlord Apollyon. The arcade mode, which was introduced with the Marching Fire expansion, where you fight AI enemies that grow increasingly harder with power-ups. And the Ranked Duels playlist, which I count as its own mode because no other game mode has ranked. In Tier 2 of the Iceberg, I'll be going over aspects of the game which are mainly UI and cosmetic based. Starting us off in Tier 2, we have the gender renames. Now, with most heroes in For Honor, you're able to switch your gender between male and female, and as such, the buttons were named accordingly. However, with Warden as our example, somewhere along the line they changed it to 1 and 2, or default and alternate, and I don't really know why. Now, Warden's Massive Dumpy. This refers to a chest plate cosmetic error. This chest plate looks pretty normal from the side, doesn't it? Whoa, hold on, quick warning before the next part of the Iceberg. I had to record it on my phone because PS5 doesn't let you record stuff that's in your messages, so the audio is going to be very different and very bad. Cover your ears if you want to, it'll probably save your life. This is what the chest plate looked like on release. As you can see, the bottom half of his cape juts out way farther than usual, giving him the fattest ass in all of Ashfeld. The medieval thug shaker, if you will. Finally, in Tier 2, we have the Volcano, that big old volcano right above the Duel and Brawl playlist button. Now, this is a holy grail of the Knights faction. We defend it with our lives more than we actually play the faction war, and because of that, we lose to the Vikings every single time. But it's a funny meme. We keep it around. It's funny. In Tier 3 of the Iceberg, I'll finally be going over some parts of the game that are actually based around gameplay. First off, in Tier 3 of the Iceberg, we'll be talking about the Shard C point on this map, the Shard. In Dominion, For Honor's most popular game mode, both teams will struggle to fight over 3 points all set in alphabetical order, A, B, and C. Because B is always the largest and always in the middle, it's usually where the minions fight. However, the Shard differs from this pattern and has them fight at point C instead. You guys are not going home to your families today. Alright, so for the second part of Tier 3 of the Iceberg, we'll be going over Raider's pre-nerf stunning tap, which is the move he's doing over and over again right now. I'll let him hit me real quick just to demonstrate. So as you can see, it is a top light with no special properties, but before the nerf, it used to stun people, which looks like this. Have at thee! Oh god, oh my eyes! So as you could probably tell from that clip, getting hit with Stunning Tap was very unpleasant, especially because it was a light attack that he could throw out during a combo, so you would just be blind for 5 seconds and it was miserable. And because of that, I'm glad it got nerfed and I'll just be sweeping him up, throwing out the trash, because he doesn't belong here, filthy pagan, only come back on Sundays, who do you think you are, get out of my town! My apologies. Anyway, for the final part of Tier 3, we'll be going over the Orochi Shinobi 0 to 100 gank, which I don't have a friend to do it with at the moment, but I do have a video I can put up, so hopefully that'll explain it better than I can. Here you go. Alright everyone, we've made it to Tier 4. In this tier we'll be going over glitches, old assets, and a nerf. Alright, so for section 1 of tier 4, we'll be going over how you can glitch out of bounds on certain maps. 2 that I know of to be exact, the first one being Viking Village. I won't be commentating at all to concentrate, and I'll also be speeding up the videos for the sake of time, so here we go. For part 2 of tier 4, we'll be going over Warmonger's pre-nerf corruption. Now this hero, Warmonger, has a set of abilities that forces her enemies to socially distance from each other, which is very hilarious because this hero came out during COVID. If enemies caught in the blast stand too close to each other, they'll all take damage. However, when this hero first came out, that also applied to the minion lane. So if an enemy player was in here and I just dropped one of those, not only would the enemy player start taking damage, but the minions around them would get completely wiped out, as seen in this video.
Distancing. Just do that, and they're dead. That's so stupid!
For the final part of tier 4, we'll be looking over the old minion models and kill animations. Now, in this mission in particular, we're sieging a Viking fort, so we'll be able to see the old Viking models as well. But we're going to focus on the knight one for now. As you can see, he's a lot more heavily armored than the ones in the last clip with Warmonger. He's got an open sallet on, a face covering, a whole lot of chainmail, and what seems to be a laminar chestplate. The new ones just have some gambeson on and a kettle helm, and that's about it. But without further ado, let's go kill some minions. Let's just drop this bridge. Minions! I'm gonna come get you! I'm gonna come spear you real bad. So, these do not exist in the game anymore, these little animations that you do when killing minions, how you just like spin around in real cool ways and toss them around. I don't know why they got rid of them. I can think of a few reasons why though. It could be to make each character more viable at clearing the minion lane in a certain way, because obviously, if you're locked in an animation, you're not able to get some wide sweeping attacks, but if you're only doing your regular attack animations, then you can clear out a lot more minions at a time. So, I think that's one of the major reasons, is just to make each character more viable and unique in a certain way. Alright folks, we're at tier 5, we are now halfway through, so let's just get straight into it. Starting us off in tier 5, we have Centurion's cutscene combo. Now this refers to a combo that Centurion was able to do before his rework, where he was guaranteed at least over half of the enemy's health bar off of one parry, and I'll show you that now. So as you can see, while winding up the punch, the enemy was able to throw an attack. Back in the day, not only did it do a lot more damage because he hadn't been reworked yet, but the enemy was also forced to take all of that damage. They were just completely in stun lock and unable to do anything. So, it was pretty broken, but also pretty fun. The next two topics I'll be going over come from when For Honor was still in its very early stages before we even had official actual gameplay. These include the E3 and Alpha CGI trailers, which I'll be displaying on screen now. Alright, so this is where Davis is mentioned for the final part of Tier 5. Once our boy Holden starts talking, he's that guy with the big axe.
Master, this beast killed at least 40 soldiers, including Davis.
And there he is. No one in the For Honor community actually knows who Davis is. He has no real appearance. He is just a name in a cutscene. However, people theorize that because Holden thought to bring him up at all, that he was probably another Lawbringer or a high-ranking commander of sorts. Alright, we're moving on from Tier 5, and we are officially past the halfway point, moving into Tier 6, which mostly covers references to other pieces of media. Starting us off in Tier 6, we have a pretty clear reference to Monty Python here on the map Citadel Gate. If you were to walk all the way back here into this spawn and look past these logs, you'll find this guy who is very clearly a nod to the Black Knight. Poor guy. Alright, next up in Tier 6 of the Iceberg, we have Warden Vortex, which isn't a reference to anything. I'll be saving that for the end. This refers to when Warden was back in his very early stages when the game first released, and he was basically the easiest character to play. You only had to do one move, and it was very easy to spam. I'll show you that now. So players would just do this over and over. You cut them twice and you bash them. And as you can see, I just guard broke. That's because back in the day, you were able to soft feint your bash into a guard break, which was very busted because you lurch forward like you're about to bash them, but then you just fake them out with a guard break instead of hard feinting. It was very unreactable and very unfair. So eventually they changed it, and now Warden is a lot different and a lot better. But yeah, that's Warden Vortex. People would just shoulder bash all day, just this over and over. What? Oh, I found a way to not kill Adamar. Holy, oh, that's going in. Oh, that's going in the Iceberg. Holy, you can kill Adamar by not executing him. He's alive. He just has severe burn scars. That's going in the Iceberg too. That's also in Tier 6. That is also in Tier 6. You do not have to execute Adamar. Just push him into fire. Just push him. The final piece of Tier 6, probably one of the most popular obscure facts in For Honor, that being the lightsaber event in May 4th of 2019. Now, they've never done it since, which is why it's so obscure and off the charts, but it was amazing when it did happen, but sadly, because it only happened once, and back when I didn't have a PS5, I don't have any recordings of it. But I know plenty of people on the internet that do, so I'll be playing a video of that right about now. Alright, closing out of Tier 6 and moving into Tier 7, we'll be going over mostly character changes and one execution. Alright, starting us off in Tier 7, we have pre-reworked Shinobi for this little guy, an assassin of the Samurai faction. As you can see now, he's very mobile. He's all based on flips and tricks. He has a lot of undodgeables. But before, he used to be very unique. He was the only character in the game with ranged attacks, which you can no longer do because they removed them. You would also have to double dodge into a kick. You could not single dodge into a kick. You would have to pop a little smoke cloud in order to do it, and it was very, very reactable for the enemy. He wasn't very viable, but he was unique, and now his throw attacks are regulated to a guaranteed heavy after the kick. That little thing. That is the only part of him that he has left of his ranged attack. Next up in Tier 7, I'll be going over Orochi's old deflect. That was a regular deflect, where instead of parrying or blocking the enemy attack, you dodge into it and you get a cool punish. However, before Orochi's changes, you used to be able to charge it up and deal a lot more damage, and it was very stylish. Still is stylish, just not as much. Finally, in Tier 7, we'll be going over Valkyrie's no-touching execution. Now, they have changed it permanently, so we'll be looking at that version now, and then at the unchanged version. Alright, here it is. There it is now, and here's the unchanged version. Alright, that's Tier 7 in the books. Let's move on to Tier 8. Starting us off in Tier 8, we'll be going over some of the limited time and holiday-specific emotes. First off, Sword in the Stone, which costed 10,000 steel and was only for a limited time. If you do this in an actual game, you have a chance of pulling it out, but during the preview, your character just struggles with it all the time. This also goes for Snowball Fight, which was for Christmas. We'll be coming back to this one later, but for now, it's just an obscure emote. I also have some more for Halloween, which I only buy for Lawbringer because of a silly mistake I made back when the first Halloween event came out. There's Howl at the Moon, where you turn into a disgusting furry. And a Jack-o'-lantern, where you turn into a funny little pumpkin. Next up in Tier 8, we have a strategy that I came up with, which is why it's so low on the tier list. I call it Smoke and Mirrors. I don't think I've ever seen anyone do this, so I'll be doing it now. Oh. You pop Ki to stun the enemy and drain their stamina, and then a Smoke Bomb to blind them so they won't know where you're attacking from, and then you just hit them with Storm Rush over and over. It's very annoying for the enemy team, and that's why I love doing it. I just love annoying people and just ruining their day. We'll be closing out of Tier 8 with the scrapped voice lines. Now, every character in For Honor would have gotten a voice change once the Marching Fire expansion released. However, they immediately took them out of the game because of heavy backlash from the fans. I don't have personal footage of it, but I do have many videos on the internet that I can show you, so I'll be showing a couple of clips of Warden's voice change right now.
Ha! Ha ha! Miserum!
Alright, now that Tier 8 is over and done with, let's move on to Tier 9. First off in Tier 9, we have the Test Your Metal event and event armors that you can get from it. I'll be explaining the event as we look at the armor pieces, but first let's do a comparison. This is the Vengeful Instigator helm, and it is based on the Merope helm. The difference being this one is fully iron, while this one has a brass insert, very good for a Crusader Warden. Now, Test Your Metal, which came out about, I'd say, 4 or 5 years ago, has only come back very recently. And it's where you and 3 other teammates fight AI enemies from the story mode that grow increasingly difficult as the rounds go on. It's pretty fun for the first 2 rounds, and then it gets kind of boring and old, but it's nice to see it back, and it also gives newer players a chance to get all of these armors. Next in Tier 9, we'll be going over the Snowball Teleport, which if you remember I said that we'd be returning to this emote. Snowball Fight. Sold during Christmas, you can throw a snowball at your enemy mid-fight, it's pretty fun. However, upon its initial release it had a fatal flaw where your player model was somehow attached to the snowball. So once you threw it, you could do a series of button inputs, and when the snowball hit your enemy, you would be able to teleport right in front of them and catch them off guard. It was pretty funny, and I'll show you that now. For the final part of Tier 9, we'll be looking at the head-to-head paired emote. Now, if you remember back in Tier 5, we took a look at the alpha trailer for For Honor. And in that trailer, there's a scene where the main character and one of his teammates butt heads. That later became the first ever paired emo in For Honor, called Head to Head. I'll be showing those two now. Finally, we've made it to tier 10, and for that, I bow to you. Thank you for staying. We'll be going over 3 more topics, which we'll get into right now. Starting out in tier 10, we have the Tribute game mode. If you remember this, and you actively play it, you gotta be living in a different timeline. This is the most forgotten and unpopular game mode in For Honor. It's been completely eclipsed by Dominion. Granted, every other game mode has, but at least every other game mode gets some amount of playability. Duels are still sort of active, brawls are pretty active, even 4v4 deathmatch gets some traffic because elimination is in there. But Tribute? There's no one playing it. It's a game mode where each team fights to get control of 3 banners around the map. If you place them into these shrines, you get power-ups like damage boosts or the ability to see enemies through walls, blah blah blah. It just was not a smash hit, and because of that, it's died out almost completely. Every single time I look into the battle playlist to select a minion, I don't notice this game mode at all. It might as well not even be here. Next up in tier 10, we have Shigoki's insta-kill backbreaker. Back in the very early stages of For Honor, Shigoki was very slow, but he was a hard-hitting powerhouse, and this was best reflected in his backbreaking move, which I'll show you now. It does a moderate amount of damage to the enemy, 20 as you can see in the bottom left, and it also restores health if you've lost any. However, back when Shigoki was still in his very early stages, if the enemy got you down to a low enough health and you hit them with that backbreaker, it would instantly kill them no matter what health they were at. I'll show you that now.
Victory!
Alright, we've made it the end of tier 10, the final topic. Before we get on with it, I'm too lazy to do an outro separately, so I'll just do it here. Thank you for sticking around. This outro will be pretty pointless if I don't upload this video to YouTube and it just stays as an ELA final during my sophomore year, but who knows, I might upload it. No one's ever done it before, at least not that I know of. I looked pretty hard, but for tier 10, the final part of tier 10, we're going to look at Unlock Tech, the old Unlock Tech, back when For Honor was first getting its competitive scene, where players would use this to get a competitive edge over other people. I don't really know how to explain it, so I'll be displaying a video, just like I have been throughout this entire Iceberg, because this guy explains it a lot better than I do.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to dodge, and then I'm going to unlock, and then I'm going to heavy, all within like pretty much the exact same time, all at the exact same time. But dodge will come first. Okay, so when I do this, Rena's going to try to parry, and my attack will become unparryable. Okay. As you can see, when I do this attack, there is no indicator. There is no flash. I messed that one up actually, but here.
The really crappy mic because this is super impromptu and unprepared, and I forgot this even existed, and it's really late, and I just want to real quickly put this into tier 10 as well before I close out completely. This is a setting for the map The Ring. It's a weather setting on the dual map, and it just made it look really pretty. Like the skies were as blue as water. Like it was crazy looking. It was so pretty. I'm pretty sure you can find a video on it. I'm too lazy to go grab one. It's 12:30 or something, man. This Iceberg's over. Bye.